This is the first time I have turned on my stream, so I will say I hope it works. Alright, so to get started, I actually thought that I would be making some assets for my stream in Figma. So I've sort of set up this little mini design system here, but I guess I should explain first what I'm actually building. So there's a bunch of things that you can add to your stream. If you have Twitch or YouTube, you might have like an offline scene, so it's like the page that will show when you're offline. I want to design a page also for like be right back, so in case I need to like get up in the middle of my stream, or I might also be doing some like coding with APIs on the stream, so if I need to do something like hide a secret API key, then I can pop up a scene that will quickly just basically blank out my whole screen for a little bit so that I can do those API keys without revealing my secrets. And apparently it looks like YouTube is down, so I don't know if this is actually casting to YouTube. I doubt it, but that's okay. Hopefully it's still working on Twitch and Periscope. This is mostly just to test the actual like stream quality anyways, so. Alright. So what I have here is I've kind of already set up what I want to build. And I also need to mention I wanted to make these starting scenes. So, you know, before I start the stream, I might start at like 12 or 15 or 10 minutes early and be like, okay, here's like starting scene while people are kind of gathering. So you can have like a little countdown, and I want it to play some music. And for these, I actually have an idea to make it animated. So the offline screen won't be able to be animated because it's just static. It just has to be an image. Actually what I'm going to be doing over the next like several streams is building these starting scenes and the be right back scene, because these are all going to be animated. So my idea was to build them on the web, and I'm not quite sure about the be right back scene, but at least for the two starting scenes, I have this idea that I've had forever, which is that I want to kind of make some like animations and visualizations with all based on sort of text and typography, but it's all going to be linked and driven by music that's playing. So there's going to be music that's playing in the background, and the text and animations are hopefully going to be able to respond to the audio. So I'm going to be doing some coding with the web audio API. And also probably stuff like, there's some libraries to do like cool text animations like splitting.js, and there's another GSAP, of course, you can do, and I'm forgetting another one now, but there's a few libraries that I had in mind for sort of making these text-based animations. So what I want to do today is sort of make a rough design for these starting scenes and the be right back, because these will actually be coded on the web. So I want to just get a rough idea of those right now. I'm not going to do too much in-depth because I usually start changing things anyways once I start coding it. But I will be designing it to completion, this offline scene. So what I have here is basically a little mini design system that I've already built up. So these are just some colors, these are text colors, and then I have a whole host of light colors. The whole theme of this is sort of this pastel-y kind of earth tone-y look. And I have a couple of dark colors. And so the idea, at least for the ones that are going to be on the web, the animated ones, is that it'll be a randomized background color based on this palette. And if it's a dark color, then the text will be white, and if it's a light color, then the text will be dark. And I may also use some of these as accent colors. I haven't really decided if it's going to be kind of like two-tone, just kind of like monochromatic, or if I'm actually going to add some accent colors in there. But it'll all be based on this palette, and I do want it to be sort of randomized. And then for the typography, which is really going to be the entire rest of the thing, because all the animations and all the stuff on the screen is just going to be text, I have these really cool fonts that I have impulse bought recently. So this first one is called Peshka. It's a variable font, and that's important because to do the animations, especially the animations for the responding to the web audio, I want this font to be able to actually animate smoothly along an axis. So variable fonts, you can have the weight and the width for this case, for Peshka, are variable, so you can smoothly animate between the weight and the width. Actually, I will show you just a little bit. So let's look up Peshka variable. I got both of these fonts from futurefonts.xyz, by the way, which is a really cool website where you can get fonts that are like in progress. So this was really cheap. This was like 50 bucks. So this is the kind of animation you can make with variable fonts. Weight and width are the two axes that you have access to in the case of Peshka. So this is the kind of thing that we're going to be looking to build. Probably a little different than this, but you get the idea that you can really make these nice smooth animations just by changing the CSS properties. And I actually did set up already this sort of landing page for what these starting scenes are going to look like. So this stuff is not necessarily going to be there, but I wanted to get this audio player going, so I did code up a little dummy example where I have the audio player, and if you click, it'll start down timer, and it'll start the audio as well. So that's what we're going to be doing sort of next time, I guess. But for the time being, let's sort of jump right in, I guess. We'll actually start designing finally this Figma rough sketch for the starting scenes. So the reason I have two starting scenes here, I'm going to have two different types of starting scenes because I want to have different types of animations and a different look based on the type of song that's playing. So the song that's playing might be kind of like a chill, jazzy song, and I want that to be very different than if I have more like an up-tempo, kind of like thumping bassline kind of song playing. So I have more of an idea of the second one, but the first one I'm not quite as sure yet. And then the offline and the be right back, I have some ideas, but we'll get into those in a sec. All right, here I am in Figma. I'm gonna just pick some colors. I like this purple color. This is kind of like the original inspiration for this, so I'm gonna just have it be like that for now, but like I mentioned, that will change to be a random color from this palette every time we refresh the page. So this I'm gonna call, I called it starting scene 1. I'm gonna rename this layer actually, because I want to call this like chill starting scene, because that's what that's gonna be for. And then I'm gonna make a text box in the center because each of these is going to have a timer in the center. So let's see, I want this to be, I don't want to do that. I want this to be like a little bigger. And I want it to be centered in the screen. At least for right now, I want it to be centered in the screen. We might change that later. That's probably big enough. Maybe we'll just have it be 150 because 150 is a nicer number. So this is going to be a timer that counts down, and I don't know if this is going to be the actual width of the font. This is really bold because currently Figma doesn't really handle variable fonts that well. So this is just actually a static font. Like I can't actually change the axes on this font right now. That's just sort of set manually in Figma. But the idea that I had was I'm going to go ahead and make an ellipse around this. And I'm going to put that below this text layer. And I just had these frames set up before, by the way. If you've never used Figma, this is a frame, and this is the width and height of the output. So this is sized appropriately to like what the screen will be. So that's the nice part of doing this project, is I don't have to worry about like responsiveness for this. Basically it's going to be a website, but I don't have to worry about it being responsive or anything. Because I'm the only one that's ever going to use it. So I want to have this ellipse around here because what I'm going to do in the final version is I'm going to have text actually as this ellipse. So I'm not going to put it in here right now just because it's kind of a pain to do that in Figma to like actually make text move along a curve. But I'm just going to have this here as a placeholder to kind of remind me, and maybe I'll just rename this something like text ellipse, because in the actual website version I want this to be text around here. So then the other thing that I want to do, oops, I think I just kicked that camera, sorry. The other thing that I want to do is come up with lots more elements to animate on here. So this text will be kind of animating around in a circle. And maybe I could also make some rough sketches here, which could be like spirals or concentric circles. Concentric circles sounds like kind of an interesting idea. Let's make this 250, and let's just give that a stroke, give it a stroke of 3, and then I'm just going to duplicate this like a few times, and each of these I will make slightly smaller. So why don't we make this like a little smaller? And for anyone that is a Figma genius, I'm very sorry, this is kind of a rough sketch anyways, so like you might have freaked out if you saw that I don't have any of these colors as styles. So Figma has these amazing styles API, which is wonderful and it's awesome and I use it all the time. But there was just so many colors here that I really didn't want to do that in this case. It just seemed like overkill since these are some very rough sketches anyways. And I'm probably not that great with, like, I'm really bad at shortcuts as well. Like, I'm terrible at shortcuts in Figma. I'm terrible at shortcuts in general, like with my IDE, so bear with me on that. Alright, so I'm duplicating all of these because I think we might add some concentric circles sort of to the four corners here. And let's see. Actually, I should actually line these up properly. Well, what I really should do is actually group these. Yeah. Don't want to group that whole thing. I just want to group this. I should have done this before. Okay. So now this is grouped. So I can align these down here. And we'll align this here. And we'll align this up there. Okay, perfect. So I don't know what these are going to be. Right now I have them as sort of concentric circles. I'm thinking of also possibly doing like a spiral, but again that's a little bit tricky to do in Figma. And the idea is that these will probably be made of text as well, but they will be animated so that they are responding to the music. So I might animate like the font weight or something, so that these are kind of like animating in that way to the font. Alright, now to give this a little bit more interest, there's a few things that we could do, because right now this is like pretty bare bones. So one option would be to sort of have a little strip up here. I'm not sure if I like this, but I'm just going to give it a try. And I'm going to make this a dark color. Like I'm going to make this our black text color. And then what I'm going to do is inside of that, I'm going to put the text, which we will just say starting soon. But this needs to be way smaller. And it also needs to be a different font. So the first font, I mentioned this Peshka variable font that I have. The other font that I'm really obsessed with is this Kovic Sans Mono. It's also from Future Fonts XYZ. And this font is this really kind of chunky, weird serif that has like tons of character, but I think it's actually very readable too. It's kind of like a more interesting font that I'm used to using when I use sans serif. Sometimes I just get bored of sans serif fonts, honestly. But this one has a lot of interest to it. And I am completely obsessed with these arrows. These are like the coolest arrows I've ever seen. So I'm definitely going to end up using these in one way or another. And I think I might actually make another frame of this so that I can show how I would actually use these to maybe be like an occasional animation that comes across the screen, not something that's happening constantly. All right, so this we're gonna make, I know I don't have a text style either, I'm really bad, but we're gonna make this, it's called Kovic Sans Mono, okay, and we're gonna make that much smaller so that it fits in here. It's gonna be maybe like 44. Yeah, that might fit. But we need to make the color so that we can actually see it against that dark background. White color. So this is our white text color. So I might do something like this, and then I'm gonna hold Alt here and just drag this over to duplicate it. And then I can just do Command D, 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 D to duplicate, and it'll just keep duplicating these across. That's a nice little trick in Figma. If you do the Alt and then drag and then you press Command D, it'll duplicate in the same direction that you dragged it in the first place. So now I'm going to group all these. Actually, I'm going to make a group out of this so that I can then duplicate this group and pull it down here. And then I could even, maybe this is just wild, but I could even duplicate this again and rotate this whole thing. Let's see if we can get this to lock in to 90 degrees. There we go. And it's trying to snap to the edge of the screen there because I have this kind of out of the frame. This is sort of bad practice, but again, I'm just trying to get an idea of how this will look. So then I'm going to copy this over to the other side. Same thing. Okay, good. So I don't know if this is actually how I will end up designing this. I'm not sure if I really like these borders around the edge with this particular scene, because like I said, this scene is supposed to be playing when we have sort of like chill, jazzy music. So I don't know if these harsh, like 90-degree angles really fit with that. I was more planning to make this like the circle-y kind of rounded corners type scene, but it just felt like we needed a little bit more darkness on the screen, so that might work. Now, I want to do a couple different things with these arrows, like I mentioned, and I think this is the right place to do it. So this might be kind of like the base scene, you know, the scene that just plays normally, and then what I'm thinking is there might be a couple animations that happen at random intervals throughout the song, but they're not going to happen all the time necessarily. So, one thing that might happen is if we have like a big beat in the song, like a big drum kick or something, we might have a little particle like boom or something right here, and those particles could be made of these arrows. So I want to try making something like that. So I'm just going to pull one of these arrows in here, and this is the left arrow because for whatever reason. But what I'm going to do is make this a little bit smaller, because right now it's a little bit big. Maybe let's try like 100 pixels. Yeah, that looks okay. And I'm forgetting whatever the command is actually to just snap the text box to the, fit the text box to this, but let's see, we have auto height, auto width, fixed size, let's say just auto width. Yeah. If we do that, that's good. Okay. So what I want to do is make this like a particle animation. So this would be basically bursting out, maybe like a firework or something. So we would have like the arrow here, and then I'm going to duplicate this, and I know there is a way actually in Figma to like easily make a circle somehow by just like duplicating things radially. But I'm not that smart, so I'm gonna do this the very stupid way, which is just to do something like that, maybe, and then kind of like keep doing that. You know, the duplication thing that I showed you earlier, where you can like alt drag and then duplicate it in whatever direction you're dragging. I know you can do that with a circle as well. I just don't know how to do it, and I don't feel like taking the time right now to learn how to do it while I'm streaming. So I will just do this the stupid way, just so we can get an idea, because of course when we actually code this on the web, it's going to be totally different. So I don't feel like at this point we need to put too much time into making it absolutely perfect. But of course I can't have it look awful, so I do have to adjust these a little bit. So this guy's going to go down here and do something like that. And this animation might actually have like multiple layers. I haven't thought about this too much, but you know, if we're doing it in JavaScript, which we will be eventually, then the particles, you know, it's kind of like the world is your oyster. We can make like many arrows come out. We can make all kinds of crazy stuff happen with them. We could give them the same velocity so they look more like this, kind of like a circle. We could give them a random velocity so they look more like a firework, more like they're all coming out at random points or something. And of course, as I try to complete this circle, it is looking absolutely ragged because I didn't do it properly. But that's okay. I sincerely apologize to any designer that is watching, because this is probably like extremely painful for you to watch me do this terribly. But alright, there we go. It's not bad. So that might be something that we have occasionally happening. And the other thing that I want to kind of think about, sort of, is I might actually duplicate this whole frame, because, and I'm going to pull it over to this side then. Alright. I want to do some more things with the arrows, but I think that I will want to make them like completely fill the screen when I do that. So I want to take out all of these elements, because I think there might be some points when I basically have these arrows come across and like make a wave across the screen or something. Actually, I should leave that there, so I will duplicate that and bring it over here. So what I might do is even get rid of this. I might even have this kind of do an animation to like animate out or something. Like I might have this duplicated around in a circle a bunch of times, and then it can animate out or something. But what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to make something look like this, and this thing is going to be actually the entire width of the screen. Actually, I kind of liked having it like this. I might design it like this just because it'll be easier to space these things. So like right now the the line spacing between these things is too big. So I'm gonna make it like, I don't know, let's make it like 80%, and that's better. But I mean, like, if we're doing a wave animation, we might even want to make it like 70%. So yeah, there we go. So these might be like arrows coming across the screen, and then I'm going to duplicate this. Actually, I'm going to do the alt drag thing, and I'm going to duplicate this over here. And then I'm going to keep going and just duplicate these all across the screen. And what you're seeing is that when I alt dragged it, of course I dragged it down a little bit, so it's duplicating slightly down each time, which actually isn't terrible because I mean, like I said, when I'm actually like making this, the idea is to kind of make it like a wave. And so I mean, one way to make it like a wave is to basically have it, you know, move down every time. But I think I have a different idea in mind, which is to use this thing called advanced staggers from GSAP. So I can show you guys, there is a very amazing animation library called GSAP for JavaScript, and they have a feature called advanced staggers. And it's a way of basically taking a grid of objects and animating them with staggers between each of them, so that you can, let's see, this doesn't show you, maybe I need to just go to Google and then I need to search for GSAP advanced stagger. Okay. So you can see here, this is what the advanced staggers look like. So it's very easy to take like a grid of objects like that and animate them, and you can do all kinds of crazy animations. It's really, really powerful, and it's a really it's actually like a really simple API, but you can do things like this. So this is kind of the idea that I had for this grid of arrows that I'm making. I might make it kind of like wave across in some way or animate across in some way. I might even have them change colors. Maybe the arrows are gonna it's gonna be a wave where like there's a wave of white going across the screen for the arrows moving. But that's the basic idea. And I might add some more interest to this. So I'm thinking another thing that I might do is have, I mentioned that this circle, I'm thinking of having it spin, basically, with like, it'll probably say starting soon or something when it's going around. But another cool thing, I might also put down below here something where I have like the name of the song that's playing, because I mentioned this whole thing is going to be to music, so I might have like song name and then artist or something. I just want to put this in here as a placeholder in case I do end up wanting to do that. But then the other thing that I thought was it would be cool if I could like have maybe some text down here or something that is gonna be like in a line. So let's say this will just, I mean, I don't know, maybe it might say starting soon, it might say something else. But the point is I would have some text down here in a line, and then that text would actually be animated to a path. So that text would be attached to, this looks weird because now I've said starting soon, but it has a space in between it, so I need to remove that. Okay. So basically what we'd have down here is this would be like a waveform tracker, like an oscillo something or other. You know when you have a song playing and you can see the wave pattern of the song like oscillating, and it can go up and down because it goes like burr, 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 burr. So what I'm thinking is that I might have this text actually be attached to a path, and then the text would like basically warp according to the waveform of the song. So that is a totally wacky idea that I don't know if it'll actually work, but I might do something like that. And maybe we'll just put one of these up here just in case I want to do that. The other thing I could do is I could make the text that is on this ellipse that be responsive to the waveform of the song. But I don't know. We'll have to see. Anyways, I think that's enough with this scene. I want to move on to the next one because I have some ideas of how to do that. So now I'm going to once again make all the designers cringe and show you that I don't have any of my styles, colors actually as styles. Alright, so we did the purple for this one. Maybe I'll do like a green for this one. A nice like olivey green for this. Okay, so this is going to be the scene for when we have sort of our like heavy bass line, kind of like thumper type song. And actually what I want to do here is I want to add a layout grid to this. So I should have added like a 10 pixel grid to the other one too, but like I said, I was very rough designing, just kind of getting an idea of what it looks like. But for this guy, I want to add columns because I actually have an idea already for what I want this layout to be. And I want it to be a 3-column layout. And I don't know about the gutters. I'm thinking like maybe we'll have really, really tight gutters between here, but I'll just leave it at 20 for right now. That is pretty tight already, so we'll just leave it at that for now. But I might change these gutters to be like maybe even non-existent. Like maybe the columns just go right up against each other. There's no gutter between them. So the idea here is I want to make, in the center, we're going to have this timer. Maybe we're going to have this this over here too, this song name artist. Maybe that'll be there. I don't know exactly what's going to be above and below right now. I have not decided that yet. So there might be some designs like, I'm thinking, let's just make a little design just because I'm kind of in the mood to make a little design in the center here. So maybe I'll have like, just going to copy these things into here. Let's see, did I do this right? I'm not paying attention to what I'm doing because this whole thing is kind of backwards because I have not made this wide enough to fit these arrows, but okay, I did not do this right. What I meant to do was to put this actually here, and then to put the left one going here. Now that looks a little bit wonky. Why does that look so wonky? Is there a space in there somewhere? Okay, there's a space there, because it should form a grid, right? And I could actually, like, the way to actually do this is just to copy and paste these and arrange them in a grid, but I'm stupid and I'm using text because I'm lazy. So we need a little bit more than that. A little bit more. Alright, not terrible. Who knows? So maybe there'll be some designs like this in here. I don't quite know yet. There might be some other arrow designs, like maybe it'll just be a bunch of arrows going down and up and down and up or something cool like that. But I have a really cool idea for the sides. So what I want to do in each of these columns is I want to have a grid of text, and the text will probably just say like starting soon or something like that. But I want to have this grid of text basically. And that text is going to be linked to the song once again. So the song is going to have a beat, you know, and the text will probably animate either in size or weight or something to the beat of the song. And then every once in a while, like let's say every, I don't know, maybe every 10 seconds or every time there's like a big bass kick, I'm going to completely reshuffle the grid layout and rebuild the grid from scratch. And the idea that I had for that is based on this really cool problem. Basically what we're trying to do is pack a bunch of rectangles into another rectangle. And the way to solve that is there's some computer science algorithm for this problem, which is called the bin packing problem. So yeah, so you can see here, this is a library that I found from Mapbox, which looks like basically what I want. And all it does is basically take a bunch of little rectangles and figures out how to pack them most efficiently into another rectangle. So you can see, like, there's like, I think they have a demo here. that shows what I mean by this. Yeah, okay. So here you've got all these rectangles, and you can see like if you regenerate. So this is what I want to do on the with the audio from the song. So when the song is going to be like dun dun boom dun dun boom, you know, something like that. And the text obviously will be all kinds of different like sizes and weights and things. And I don't know if it's going to work because I don't know exactly how much space the text is going to make up. If it's going to make, like if it's going to form rectangles that will work in this way. I don't know exactly if I can use this library to specify that I want to pack them all into a rectangle of this width by this height. I'm not sure. I haven't really checked this library if that's what it does, but that's sort of the dream, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to copy this image and plunk it right here in Figma. And then I'm going to just crop it and stretch it to fit in here. And then I wonder if there's an easy way to make this sort of black and white. I'm really showing my lack of photo editing knowledge at this point, because I'm sure anyone watching is like, oh, to make it grayscale, you obviously just do this. But for some reason, I am not remembering how to make an image grayscale. So I'm now searching for everything. Saturation seems like the closest, and then maybe we just like, I don't know, mess with these things or something. Or maybe it doesn't matter because it doesn't actually need to be black and white, because, all right, let's call it that. Let's say that is black and white. And yes, I'm aware that it's very embarrassing that I can't remember how to make an image black and white with editing software. I'm also going to get rid of this grid now because I don't need to see. I'm just going to hide this, so it's still there, but I don't want to see it anymore. This might be because this image actually also has some. Okay, I think this image has some opacity to it for some reason, because when I pulled it in, it was a little bit transparent. So, and now I'm really hating these arrow things, so I'm going to delete them just because I can't stand to see them there anymore. And instead what I'm going to do is bring in this down arrow, and then I'm going to do another thing, like just kind of play around a little bit with trying to make these a design that is less ugly, even though it shouldn't really matter because like I said, let's just call this 100% line height. Okay. Actually want to expand this a little bit so that I can fit them completely in here. Let's just move these over a little bit, move these up a little bit. Okay. And I'm also, actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to reduce the letter spacing. I'm going to make this like -5%. No, I'm going to make it even smaller than that. We're going to scrub, and we're going to make this like that. Yeah, that looks okay. There, that's what I wanted. Fit even more of these arrows in here. All right, that's as many as fit. So we're going to put this here, put it over so it's actually centered because it's snapping in the wrong way. All right, and then I'm going to duplicate this a bunch of times. I'm going to make these pretty tightly packed. So let's do like that. And then I'm just going to take all of these and I'm going to group them. And then I'm going to duplicate them. And I'm going to take that group and turn it upside down. I'm going to hold shift so it snaps. If you hold shift, by the way, in Figma, it will like snap to angles that make sense, like 45 and 90. It's very nice. All right, so we're going to take that and put it down here, except now we're going to remove one of these rows because we have that song name beneath it, and who knows if we'll keep that there, but just for now. So something like this I like better, and maybe these arrows will be animated too. Maybe they'll do something. They'll have a little wave or a little stagger animation like we showed you can do with GSAP. So All right, so that's basically the idea. That's basically the design I need for this scene. So those are going to be my two sort of dynamic scenes that respond to the music. And now what we need to do is design the Be Right Back screen and the offline screen. So the offline screen is going to be totally static. That one we'll design last. I think right now we will design the Be Right Back screen. And what I'm going to do is actually, I won't duplicate that. I'll just make another grid on here. We can make another grid. It's not hard. So we're going to go to columns. We're going to go to 3 columns. I'm going to do the same 3-column layout for this scene that I have for my this starting scene right here. And I'm also going to do the same clock right here that's going to go in the middle. And I really don't know in this case if the song name and artist will be here, because I'm still pretty uncertain about whether I will have this play like a kind of like a lyrical song or like the music that I have on right now, which is just like Studio Ghibli piano music, which is some kind of chill background music. So maybe there won't be the song name and artist here. And I probably won't be right back for 10 minutes. I'll probably be right back for like 5 minutes. But I mean, that doesn't really matter. I'm just nitpicking now. So what I want to do here is I want to kind of make this like a slot machine. So we're going to have BRB, like Be Right Back, and we're going to have those letters in 3 columns here. So actually, I've kind of made a mistake already, because I really shouldn't make this a 3-column grid, because even though in my mind I'm thinking of it like 3 Mongo columns, in reality it's going to be 9 columns, because each of these columns is going to be, each of these columns on the side is going to be BRB, so it's going to be 3 letters there, and I kind of want to design from that point. So let's start there, but I don't like those gutters now, how big they are, so I'm going to actually just see what happens if I remove those gutters entirely. All right. And what I want to do is kind of make this like a slot machine. So you know you have a slot machine where you have like 3 things coming down, and then there's a little thing in the center where you can actually view them, like when they're ding ding ding. That's the same thing that we're going to do here. So I'm going to draw a little rectangle, which is going to denote like our winner slot machine area. And everything in here is going to be mirrored, so I could really just do this once and then duplicate it all over. So I don't know why I'm doing this, but I am. Maybe I'll just do that. I'll just design this here and then duplicate it over. And I'm just pressing Control and using my mouse wheel to zoom in and out here. Sorry if I just gave anybody motion sickness there. But I want this fill to be black on the slot machine thing, because what's going to happen is the text is going to be black when it's outside, and then when it goes over the slot machine, it's going to be white, and the text is going to be scrolling infinitely the whole time. So let me show you sort of what I mean. So right here, we're going to have B, and I actually do want this to be Kovic Sans mono, but I do want it to be pretty big, and it's probably going to want to be bold or maybe even black weight. I don't know, black is really heavy, we'll see. Because this will need to be at least, what we can do is to see how big it needs to be is I'm just going to put this like right up here against the edge a little bit. And then I'm going to press K, which allows me to scale this whole thing. Okay. So I'm scaling up, and now it's telling me that it's 473.33, which my developer brain cannot manage, so it has to be a whole number. So we're going to make it 475. And I'm going to put this up here, and I should probably adjust this box, like I'm still on scale. Like I should probably adjust this box to like fit this thing, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to try to pull this down here and see. It would be ideal if we could fit these such that the B fit within here. So what we should really do is like measure the height of each letter, and then we will want to adjust the height of this little slot machine thing to be roughly the height or a little bit more of the height than that letter. So I'm dragging this over. Oops. I actually dragged the original over there. I meant to do is Alt drag to duplicate it over here. So I'm going to duplicate this over here and make this R, and then I'm going to duplicate this again, drag it over, and this is going to be another B. Now instead of doing this, whatever this awful thing I was doing is, I am just going to group these guys. Actually, I don't want to group them because I want them to show that it's going to kind of be animating. So I guess I will. Sometimes there's things that are very easy to do in code, and my brain cannot think of how to do them in Figma. So, all right, I'm just going to duplicate this downwards then. And I'm going to do the same thing with this one. And the same thing with this one. Okay. And I'm sorry if this isn't pixel perfect. I know that everyone's going to be very upset with that, but it's life. Alright, so what I want to do now is kind of make this box to be the same size as one of these, but a little bit bigger, so it'll actually reach like to the top of this next one, and then a little bit above this one. Okay, perfect. Now this box is going to go right in the center. And is this box transparent, or am I just seeing it that way because it's no, I'm just seeing it that way because they're overlapping. Okay, so the idea is when these letters are over the box, they will turn a different color. So let's see. This font weight is now looking like it's a little bit big. I wonder if we can scale it down like just a teensy bit. What would happen if we made it 450? That's pretty close to perfect. Let's see. Not bad. Definitely not bad. Okay, so what I will do is I will actually just select these, duplicate them, bring them down here. I want to make sure those are aligned though. Bring them down again and again. And I will need to space all of these things out a little bit more. What I should really do is select these and make them a group. But I said earlier, the reason I don't want to do that is because I want to show that these are moving in different directions. So I'm actually going to take all of these R's that I have here. This is my row of R's. I'm just going to select these over in my layers. And I'm going to shift them all down. And I'm not going to do that with my keyboard because it's taking forever because I have my nudge amount very low. Alright, so I'm going to shift these all down here. I'm going to duplicate one of these upwards, and it's going to be out of the frame. Do I have my frame? Why is it not clipping the content up here? I don't know. Oh, it's because my content popped out of the frame, that's why. Okay. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm just going to select all these B's over here. And these we will move up, I guess. Let's move these up a little bit. Have them offset to show that they're not lining up perfectly. Put one down here, pull this guy down a little bit. And perfect, there you go. Now, what I would really love is if I could show you how this is gonna look. Now, what I mean is that these are supposed to be a different color when they're over this dark background. One way to do that, it may be possible, this is completely random, it may be possible to do this with a filter, so the blend mode rather. So you take the blend mode over here and you can say like multiply, color burn. You might have seen some of these types of filters if you've ever worked with like CSS blend modes, like multiply is probably the most popular one. But there is such a thing as difference, and things like exclusion and color dodge, which do things like that. So I think that's more what I want. But what I actually want to do probably is to select these letters. Let's just select this B and see what happens if we try to do this here with the background. Okay, that's not working properly. What if we do color dodge? And is the reason because this rectangle needs to be above them? Interesting. Now I've lost track of my B. There it is. Now, might be the case that we need to put the rectangle above them and then do difference on the rectangle. No, I really don't want the rectangle to change. Alright, well, one way to show this is just to do it the very dumb way. But it will be the more accurate way in terms of how we're going to accomplish this in the code, which is that the color of this is just going to change when it's above here. And now we need to move this rectangle back down so that you can see what's happening there. Okay, there we go. Now, I don't know, I can't really do that with the R's and the B's because of the fact that it would take a long time, and I don't want to because they're half in and half out. But you kind of get the idea. And I think this is a pretty simple screen. So the idea of this is all sort of encapsulated here, hopefully. The idea that these are moving independently, one of them, you know, moving, maybe this one's moving down, this one's moving up, this one's moving down at different rates, and then when they cross this border, they will show that color change like we mentioned. All right, perfect. And then we're going to move this over here, and the same thing is going to happen. And now that I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, does this border actually extend all the way across? And then the timer in here is also white. I kind of like that, actually. I might stick with that. We'll see. Doesn't look bad. All right, and then there might be some text. I have not really figured out what to do with all this empty space here. There might be some explainer text. Maybe it's going to be what we're doing that day. Maybe it's going to be the project we're working on. We will have to see about that. But I'm just going to make this like text down here, and I'm just going to say project something, and I don't know. Be right back. Getting water. I don't know if there will actually be any of this text here. Yes, this should all actually be center aligned. But yeah, something like that. And then we might have some text up here that says something too, like forum ipsum something. So that's going to be our be right back screen. And now all of these screens are going to be built with code, but the one that isn't is our offline screen. So now I get to actually do some design where I do have to care about pixel perfect and everything. So that will be interesting. I do actually sometimes design like that, believe it or not. Question is, what do we want the background to be for our offline? I think we probably want it to be this purple. This was actually my favorite. This was like my first inspiration color for this whole project. So I'm gonna say this screen should be purple. And I am kind of attracted actually to this starting soon banner, this kind of tape banner around the border. I might do the same thing here, we'll have to see. But the idea that I had before I do that is to have offline and to have it going across here in an acrostic kind of way. Now the question is, do we want that to be... I think we probably want it to be... I mean, I always imagined it being vertical, so what I was thinking in my mind is that we would have... it would be, let's say, offline. And this would be really big text, like, I don't know, 400. And it would also be bold. And then it would be like this, except the line spacing would be something like 50%, which is too much, so it would be something more like 70%, which is better. But now it's going outside the screen, so now we need to make our text a little smaller offline. Okay, there we go. And we really should make it a little smaller so it's not completely touching the border, so we have a little bit of room. Not bad. So I had imagined that it would be something like this, and then what we would have would be duplicated across here, across here, across here, and we would actually have it be offset so that it would spell offline in this type of way. Let's see, this should be that is there, which means that the next one it should be up, 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 up. Okay. So it should be like this. And the issue that I'm worried about is that the screen here is really too wide for this kind of design to work. Like we could even maybe do this twice. Maybe this will work if we duplicate it twice across the screen. See, because offline is not that long of a word, and so we still want this to be in the frame. We just want it to be clipped. And we might have to do some sort of manual kerning between these. So these letters, you know, we want them all to line up and we want them to look proper against each other. So even spacing might not be the right way to go. They might need to be kerned a little bit. The baseline should all match up. And let's see, why is this baseline not matching up to the F? Okay. I don't know why. Yeah, but you can see now what the problem is. This really only covers like half the screen, and I don't know if there's enough room really for another one over here. Maybe we could make it much smaller and just do 2 of them and duplicate them. We might also sort of oh, and I forgot to mention the most important part. This whole thing, in fact all of these, they should be not filled. They should just be strokes. And let's make that a little bigger so you can actually see the stroke. And then the letters that are in the center are the ones that will be filled. Let's see, but we want our black, that black. Alright, so I'm just going to go through and fill these, just so I can get an idea of what this will look like. And I might have to sort of clean this up later, but I really need to make a decision at some point about whether these are going to be all together, whether they're going to be, oops, whether we're going to repeat this twice or not. I don't know what we're going to do yet, because the way that these are lining up is just not quite working out with the width of our frame. We could always make the text, whoops, what am I doing? I want to change the fill, not the stroke. We could always just make the text smaller, which would work, or make the text way larger, but the thing is then you wouldn't be able to see everything outside of there. I mean, ideally what we want to see is we want to see the entire thing. We don't really want this offline to be cut off. We actually want to be able to see it all the way up. But I just don't think that's going to be possible in this arrangement on this size of screen. So, and I know that these all need to be aligned. It's bad. It's really bad. All right. So that's, let's just like take these away for a little bit. That's sort of what it should look like, except that you should be able to see these things when they extend beyond this frame here. So the question is, if we design this to be the other way, will it still make sense? If we design this so that it's offline, 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 and then the filled letters are going down the center, will that still sort of track, or will it just not look as good? I don't know, we'll just have to try it. So what I'm going to do is duplicate this frame, and I'm going to bring it over here. And then I might be able to sort of cheat this a little bit. I was thinking I might have to draw this all again, which would be okay, but I'd prefer not to. Actually, I think I can just do this. Yeah, nice. Okay. Fix that later. Alright, so now if we bring... let's try to bring this like over to the center somewhere, or we could bring it, maybe we'll align it like that and see what that looks like if we do something like this. And again, I'm sensing we're going to have to do a lot of like manual kerning on this. I'm not sure if that tracks in the same way or if I like that as much. It's definitely an option. Thing is, we really do need to offset these so that they're like more like this. This eye needs to be like that. This needs to be a little over. F's need to be. Actually, F's were okay. It was really that eye that was messing things up. And we could think about how we want to do this too. Whoops, I don't want to do that. We could center this thing, sort of center it. It's hard to center this because it's all wonky. It's not gonna fit nicely inside the frame. We could make it left aligned. But one advantage of doing like a right alignment is that we have some room up here to do stuff. So I did plan to put, since this is the offline screen, we should let people know how to find us. So maybe I'll make this medium, blah, 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 blah. We should say something like, put my Twitter handle here. It's my Twitter handle. I should put my website here. So chase.com, that's my website. And then, I mean, if this is showing on Twitch or YouTube, the question is, people already clearly know that that is a place they can watch me stream. But that's also an option. Maybe we could put something like that. We'll see. And now these need to be a little bit less. These need to be like, so they're not so crazy there. And we might need to have this be down at the bottom actually, because see, we have more space up here than we do down here, so we need to kind of use our space efficiently. Yeah. I'm just gonna distribute the space between these vertical spacing, and then I'm gonna these down here a little bit. And I need to offset these because we're probably gonna have an icon next to each one. So next to the website, we might have a website icon next to the Twitter, or maybe we'll just have one next to the Twitter. We'll see. But I think, you know, these brands really hate it when you like make your own icon for it. But I do have this icon for a bird that I should find. So let me show you guys my favorite icon in the world. It's this bird right here. So this is the bird. If you go to my website and you look at like one of my articles, this is what I have for my Twitter icon, which is like probably very against the Twitter terms of service or something, because I think they have very strict guidelines about like you must use our icon when you reference our brand or something. But I don't think anyone really cares. I'm too small to be noticed at this point, so we'll wait until I'm much bigger than that. But this font, or this little bird icon, by the way, is from this awesome font called Chakan. Which is a font by Pampatype. And I don't know why Pampatype's website isn't coming up when I type it. So I will just go to pampatype.com. And I will go to typefaces, and then Chakan is right here. I love Pampatype, by the way. All the fonts on my website, including these illustrated drop caps, these are all from Pampatype, so definitely check out their fonts if you are interested in typography. But yeah, you can see down here, Pampatype, this Chakan font has these really cute little bird dingbats that come with it. It has all these. This is actually also how I do lists on my website. These little birds are the list icons. Which I don't actually think it's a good idea. I probably need to replace that with something more readable, because they're kind of like a little too crazy for a list, but this bird right here I especially love. I want that to be the Twitter bird, and over here that might be the Twitter bird too. Or we might look for something. I don't think there's anything within the font itself, within this Covic Sans font, that is a bird. I have to look up the guide. I had the guide somewhere, but I forgot where it is. But actually, this is a cool thing I could show you guys. So if you want to know what glyphs are in a font, you should go to fontdrop.info. This is, I mean, there's probably other ways to do this too. But this is one way to do it. And then I'm gonna just search for one of my font files. So this is Covic Sans Mono regular.otf, and you just drag it over here. And right here it shows you all the glyphs for that font. And you can also see these are all the open type features. So these are things like ordinal numbers, lining numbers, fractions. This is stylistic set, and you can look at, basically this gives you all the information about the font. You can look at all the open type things, you can look at the text, the waterfall, you can type yourself. It gives you basically all the information that's contained in the font file. But what I'm interested in is down here in the list of glyphs. At some point, here we go, they show the dingbats. So these are little kind of cool illustrations that come with a lot of fonts. A lot of designers just enjoy drawing these things, and they're basically just vector drawings, but they're included as part of the font, so you can type with them. So you can see Covic Sans, these are the arrows that it comes with, and it comes with these little manacles, these little hands, and then it has some other random little goodies included with it. This is hilarious. I love this little money font glyph here. And it even has a toilet, but it doesn't look like it has any birds that come with it. So that's a shame. But in any case, we might use the bird from our Cherkon font, or for the time being, I might just look up the Twitter icon. And I know, again, I should probably take this from the actual Twitter website, because they probably have the... Maybe I will do that, actually. Maybe I will look for that, because they may provide us the SVG format. Aha, download Twitter logos. Okay, let's see what that comes with. And where did it go? Twitter logos. Twitter logo blue, Twitter logo white on blue, Twitter logo white on image. Is that what we want? That is sort of what we want. That's a PNG. They have EPS. Oh, they have SVG right here. I'm too dumb to see it. So we can just drag the SVG right into Figma. That's a nice thing about Figma. You can always just drag that right in there. And I'm just going to resize this to be the appropriate size. And why does this thing have a fill? I really don't want it to have any sort of fill. There we go. And I want this to be that color. Okay. Hate aligning these icon things. I always have to align them by eye, because I never think they look right when I align them by snapping it. So, alright, so that's the Twitter icon. I don't remember, what is the Twitch icon? I have to look for one of those now. I have to painstakingly look up all these icons. and hope that Twitch provides us with an icon. Nope. Icon Finder Twitch. Download in PNG. I wonder if they have it as SVG format. Twitch icon SVG. Nope, I don't want to pay money for it. Alright. We'll just use the PNG for now. This seems like far too much work for what it's worth. I like the Twitch icon, it's kind of cute. Twitch had a really nice rebrand recently, actually. They did this whole giant rebrand thing, which was really cool. I like all their branding now. And then the ever-aching question, what on earth do we use for the website icon? I hate website icons. Alright. Why don't I... Interesting. Maybe I updated Figma recently. I don't think I have any of my icons in here. There is an... Or excuse me, I mean, I didn't have any of my plugins in here. There is a plugin called Iconify, though, which I thought that I had installed. And Iconify is super nice, because you can just search for icons. And if I was really fancy, and I might do this later, I might do this off stream, I might design my own icons for this to be a little more in line with the kind of look of the font that I'm going here. But for right now, I think for the purposes of this, I will just look up the icons from Iconify. Web, let's look up something like that. I don't know. God, this is what I mean about website. They're all terrible, aren't they? I guess I could just use a computer icon. Desktop. Right? I mean, that's pretty boring, but what are you gonna do? Website icons are boring. This should be like this. This is a good one. Alright. I didn't actually check the sizes of all these icons. 129. Ooh. Whole numbers only around here. 130, please and thank you. Let's see, this is 108. That looks a little big. I don't know. What is this going to look like at 130? I don't know. Perhaps our icons should be a little chunky. Chonky. We'll call this 130. No, see, that's way too chonky. Can't do that. 100. Still too chonky. Alright, 80. Alright, better. Okay, so now I'm just going to take these, I'm going to left align all of them. No, I'm not. They look terrible like that. I'm going to center align all of them. Over a little bit. And to align them, again, I said I always have to align these things by eye. I can never do this, like, appropriately how it should be done. Get rid of that. Alright, so this doesn't look amazing right now, but it doesn't look terrible either. So I'm going to move this over a little bit because it's bothering me. Again, I'm doing all this stuff by eye because I'm trying to do it quickly. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm not sure if this looks good or not. I am very into this idea of this sort of outline and then having the acrostic, like an acrostic poem like you made when you were a kid, and then having this this fill go down. But I mean, maybe it's just not going to work out. I'm going to go with this for right now and kind of just, you know, this will be how I finish this off, but I may change my mind. We'll see. I'll lay awake at night probably in anguish over this, because I really would like if it could work out that it was the other way, because I just think it looks better. But yeah, I don't think this turned out too bad. I think I have some good designs to go on for the next streams, which will hopefully be a lot more fun than this one. I mean, I don't know. Figma's not bad. Figma's kind of fun. I enjoy Figma a lot. But if people are interested in coding, then next time should be a lot more interesting, because next time we are actually going to try to build these things with code. So I'm not sure which one I'm going to start with. Maybe I'll start with Be Right Back, because that's easiest. Because the thing is, for the ones that have the audio with them, I really have to look into the web audio API a little bit more. So I've done some research, but to get things to animate in response to audio is going to be a tricky one. So I have to really kind of think about how I'm going to do that. But I think that's going to wrap it up. I think hopefully this worked. Hopefully my audio was okay. Hopefully the stream quality was okay. I have to focus my camera, I think, a little bit. I don't have an autofocus on my camera, but yeah. Thanks for joining, anyone who joined. And this was very impromptu, but next time I will actually try to come up with a schedule, try to post when I'm going to be streaming, what I'm going to be doing. So yeah, thank you